Welcome
All right.
everyone. Today it's a pleasure to have Denis Daigle here, a
Yes, sir.
charismatic SaaS and startup CTO coach. Welcome, Denis.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here. Eager
Great to
get into
have you
these
here.
questions. Yes, sir.
Of course. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your background before we get into it?
Yeah. So my background, I'm what you would call a builder. I come from a family of builders.
All
My
right.
dad, my uncles, they've built their own homes. What I'm standing in is a tiny house, and it's a project that my dad and I did together. I put that on YouTube. You can look at Denis Daigle and Tiny Life Takeover. But anyways, that's how I build stuff. So clearly, as a kid, building tree houses in the woods, I went through Air Cadets. So here in Canada, it's kind of like Boy Scouts, but more for if you want to go in the army or fly a plane or anything. And I specialized in survival. So I was,
All right.
if you go out and do wilderness survival, you got to build a shelter, build fire, build traps, survive out in the wilderness, and then be able to come back out. So that was another part of my building. Throughout school, I was more of the guy I'd like to build small projects. University, I was told by my dad to not become a mechanic like he was, but to go for computers. So I went to university. I tried my best, but I failed out of university. It just, I wasn't wired for it. So I ended up going to community college, graduated valedictorian, which was awesome, and then started off as a tech for a local lottery company. So looking to see if the screen went red, I'd call somebody. If it was green, I kept going. And I stayed there for a number of years, and I got my expertise on the technical side of a project, the software side, the hardware side. And I started really seeing how I wanted to make an impact the way that I wanted to. I started working with directors and VPs inside the company. Eventually, the company let me go because they wanted me to do something specific, but my mind was so much broader to just helping in different ways. In those years, I had taught myself how to code. So Ruby on Rails was the language that really spoke to me and could be practical. So I taught myself how to use Ruby on Rails, making these small projects while I was working my main job. So that probably led to me being let go because just thinking differently. So once I got out of that, that's when I started working on my own, building websites and different small projects. And then I really got tied to helping nonprofits with volunteering. So I started working on a platform to build some way to get more volunteers to nonprofits. I got connected to people who were like, Denis, here's this big project that they're looking for more people to get together. So it was 3 of us that sat down, and we decided to launch a tech startup, a SaaS, and we called it Porpoise, which was a play on purpose. And it was really to help people say, this is a cool project, who wants to volunteer? So we worked at that. I was the CTO as the tech founder, and I had 2 business founders. So we launched out, and we went through what a typical startup does here in North America. You go through, and in Europe, etc. You've got these accelerators. It was funded. So we had some VC money, and we went for it, and we tried to go as big as we could. But unfortunately, things crumbled down for a number of reasons that this podcast, we don't have time to go into, but that's part of what I do. So once it fell apart, then I said, well, I've got all this experience. I want to help people avoid the problems that I didn't know what to do with. So I launched out, started coaching people, joining different startups and coaching their CTOs to succeed. And also, so now that's what I do. I do startup CTO coaching and also fractional CTO services in a done for you model, or done with you, or then done by you. So that's a kind of business model that really works. And that's what I do today.
So, those three models you mentioned last thing, how do they work? And
so
why is there not one and there are 3?
Yeah, because, and I'm really hoping that your listeners can catch on to these bits. as we go through, because at first I was like, yeah, I can build something and people will use it and pay for it, but it really has to be concrete for them. And some people, they just don't know, they just need help.
Yeah.
So instead of coaching, sometimes they just don't have a CTO or a tech founder, they're a business founder, they just need, for now, somebody to temporarily step in and just do the stuff. Or the one gig that I just had was a CEO that needed to hire a lead dev because they don't have one. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is what I'm going to do for you for this amount of money. They were like, fantastic, because they trust that I have the experience to hire. So it's what a CTO would do, but just a fraction of it. So it's a way to get contracts in, and you get many of those, and then you can really create a business of these smaller contracts with all these startups acting as their CTO for a small slice, for a fraction of the time and a fraction of needing to have a CTO full time. So that's the done for you. The done with you would be coaching. So if you are a tech or a CTO, tech founder, if there's somebody there, you just need somebody to be beside you to help you. That's why the business that I'm under, what I called it, is Sidecar. Sidecar CTO coaching, Sidecar fractional CTO services, because that's how I think. I want to sit with the person, coach them on doing it, a group coaching program. And then the last one is done by you. That's the DIY. That's like mini courses, or I have all kinds of PDFs and ways, checklists and cheat sheets that you can use. I have a CTO handbook, all the stuff that you can do on your own. It's free and it's just to get you started. So with those three models, it allows me to expand my services and say, you choose your own adventure. How would you like me to serve you? And that's been a key to my business.
That's nice. You explained it so nicely. It made me feel like I was about to play a game, you know, a video game.
And that's the fun of it. It should be fun, you know. It's just, that's how it goes. People enjoy it.
Yeah, I love it. I enjoyed it as well. So I totally understand that. So
yes, sir.
What has been the biggest game changer for your business in the past year?
Yeah, that's so awesome. So I love this question, and I just discovered it, was actually to start a peer group. It's always, I became the startup coach that I wish I had in the past. Yeah. So as I was going through the startup, I didn't have somebody to go, you know, I didn't have that person. So one of the ways that I'm also helping is I've created this small peer group of, I call it SaaS Builders International. So it's a handful of people who are building SaaS. There's people from Europe, there's people from North America. We get together at a certain time and we help each other out. One person's on the hot seat and they ask questions. And through that, I've been able to help some of the people with hires that they needed, because I do these works and I know certain people. And I'm like, hey, I want to connect you with this one dev that didn't get hired here, but I think you could work with them. So that helps them out. If I need some help, I can ask those questions. And for some people, they say, hey, Denis, on this that we talked about, could you and I go a bit deeper on that? And I say, you know, my fees, so we can definitely go into some coaching or even just the content. And I say, you know what, for this session, I need to create this PDF that's going to help other people. So I draw from that. So creating a group of peer that's free, and it's just like the people that want to build together and help each other out has been game changing.
All right, I see. Is there a mistake that happened early on in that process and you learned a valuable lesson from?
So the one mistake that I think is bigger than all of them, when I said that I became a startup CTO, was a business owner.
Okay.
My mind was so fixated on, I know I'm going to build this, it's going to be great. And I left the business ownership to the business founders. I had delineated that, segregated that. The downfall of our company, there wasn't many pieces to it, but one major one was we ran out of money, but then we had to beg, borrow, and steal from different parts. That got us in trouble with the government that we owed money to. And when I turned around, I was like what happened? I know I said yes to these decisions, but I didn't go into the details and question how we were doing it. Yeah. So that was my biggest mistake. How I'm correcting that is now I have a business coach. So my business is founded on all of the fundamentals of financing. So now I understand what I'm looking for. So the business now is different. When I advise people, I ask those questions that I should have asked. So my biggest mistake was that I was like, yep, we're starting a business and I'm just going to build. Somebody else will be the business owner mindset. So that's one big piece of advice.
All right, I see. So is there a question that you get asked most often about your business?
I'd say it's not a particular question, but it's a type of question.
All right.
Basically, people come to me and they ask the what, how questions.
Yeah.
What do I do here? How do I do that?
Yeah.
And what I tell them is really the step one of what they're really asking or how I can help them. So they're like, how do we do this? Very surgical tactics. I'm like, okay, boom, here's how you do that. And they're like, all right. But then I come back with a different or a question for them. And I ask, who is doing this? Who could be doing this? Because I'm trying to weave in the business owner side of it. Because a lot of my clients, it's them, they're the founder, they're the one doing it. And then that's it. It's like, it's not just you, because business owners believe only they can do it because they've been told all of this stuff, that it's up to them, only they, buck stops with them. But you got to open it up to like, who else could be helping? So they should be asking not how, but who. And that's when you start to be able to grow your business because you're working on the business instead of in the business. And then once you have the who, you ask the why. So why are you doing this? Why are you really tied to this? And what I found is that you start going to where are you now? Where do you want to go? And then when you look at those sets of questions, when you ask somebody, hey, could you help me out with this? They're going to need to know the why. They're going to need to know the where are you now? Where do you want to go? And they will have the answer for the what and the how.
So if you wanna show them the answer by showing them other perspectives so they can find the answer themselves, right?
Yes, but also I can provide the how and the what, but I want them to go find the other people that have the how and the what, so that they don't have to rely on just the one person, and just get the mind, just the muscle of, I have this to do. How could I do it? No, hold on a second. Who could I talk to that could do this? Because they have the expertise and the answer. So you start thinking in who's and building teams, and it just changes, like you say, the different perspective, and you have that growth mindset versus it's only me. I have to figure it out all by myself, and then you go to burnout, and then you have to close down. And so that's why they come at me with these what questions, and then I turn it around so that they have an expanded mindset. And that's why they say your mindset is your biggest tool. It's true.
Yeah, I see. I agree with that as well. So is there a piece of advice you would give to your younger self starting out?
Oh, I have several. Outside of, be a business owner and not just a builder or a problem solver. But so I took the liberty to really kind of write these down so that I could have them. So I'll do a quick fire. And then at the end, if anybody wants to get in touch with me to dive deeper, but this is what I found, that people in general, you, me, we love movies. We want to be part of a story. So if you're talking about the who, is to try to have a story that you're inviting people into the story, because people want to be excited. Investors, employees, your friends and family, they want to hear something exciting. So it's up to you as an entrepreneur to have in mind that it's got to be a story that people step into, and that you have to keep that story alive. Anytime that I advise young founders, it's like, if you bring somebody in, make sure that you give them updates as much as you can. Build it. Don't wait to get it perfect. Just build something, put it out there, learn something, talk about it. Every week, ask questions and all of this stuff. Share that with everybody. With these seasoned CEOs, they know, put out a newsletter every month just saying, here's what the month was like. It was good, it was bad, it was ugly. By the way, I'm looking for, so it's like they want to be part of the story and reminded often that they're part of the story. That's how you build excitement into it. And you're the ultimate storyteller as the entrepreneur. That's also a business owner.
Yeah.
And then it's just much easier to get into the details, but your challenge is going to be the focus. Because it's hard, you see all this stuff, you don't know where to focus, how to focus. But I found that if you can be in love with the problem that you're trying to solve, then it doesn't matter how you solve it. It could be the solution today, you learn, you failed, a different solution, but because you're in love with the problem, then it's like, how can I best solve this? And that you allow it to change. Because if you're too, and as a builder, if I was like, I'm going to build this one thing and that's going to be perfect. No, because you're going to learn something. And if you're frustrated by that, if you're not okay with just throwing out what you tried and trying something different, you're going to hate it. And you're not going to tell a very good story. And you're going to be pushing people away. But if you're like, you know what, this is what I'm trying to solve. Like, this is something that I'm really passionate about solving. The problem is what I want to solve. Here's what we've tried. Here's what we're trying next. Here's what we've learned. It just changes your whole mind, your whole perspective. And I find it's you have to be okay to go to battle and not just be like, if you're introverted or whatever, like, I don't want to risk it, but now is the time to risk it, because your mind is all about like, keep it interesting, just go for it. You're going to learn stuff. The problem is what you're trying to solve. And when you have that business owner and you're going into battle, you really can't do it alone. And that's another mistake that I had. It was like, I'm a CTO. I'm supposed to be smart. I'm supposed to figure this out on my own. And that was a lie. So I'd say, find mentors, be an apprentice to a master of something, have many, but don't do it alone. And you'll see how you build that. And people are like, okay, if you're willing to reach out there, not to ask for money, you may need money, but when you ask for advice, be like, you know what, here's where I'm doing, here's where I'm at, here's where we're going, here's the money that we have now, I need advice on this thing. People are excited because they want to be part of that story, part of your story, like who you are, how you're thinking, you're acting like a business owner, and you're moving forward, keeping people engaged. And then they say, here's the advice. And then you actually act upon that advice. And then they come back and they say, well, I told you something, you tried it, but now if you only had 50 grand for this part, because you're next thing you know, they said, you know what, I don't have that money, but I want to put you in touch with somebody who has the money. Now that person can recommend you because of who you are. People are engaged, and that's why they say they like to work with young founders, young entrepreneurs, because they have that fire. And if they're coachable, they ask good questions, they're not afraid to go for it, and they're in love with the problem, then it's like the money is there and it can be found. But you have to be that type of person, and how to become that type of person. And the last thing that I'll offer is a bonus tip. Okay. For anybody that's struggling with self-esteem, if you're struggling with how to build that confidence, what I've found, they actually share this in drug addiction centers for people that have kind of lost it all. The first thing that you should build is your self-esteem, and the way that you do that is that you keep promises you've made to yourself as a foundation. 100%. So if you feel you don't have self-esteem, just say, you know what, like, just make a small promise to yourself. Tomorrow, I'm not going to go into Netflix for the whole day. I'm going to do this part. So just something small. One promise, something small, and you build on top of that. And then you start to rely on yourself. So you're like, you know what, when I say something, I follow through, because that's the skill you need for your business. When you tell a customer or client, you're going to do this, you show up and you do it. So that's why, like, you can't compare Mount Everest of these founders that we see, these big businesses. start small, build your self-esteem, you use those skills. So if that's you, and I know that was me, and a lot of times because I would get too busy and whatnot, but it's just like, or addictions or time wasters that we want to get rid of. Start with small commitments, keep those commitments, and you'll feel that self-esteem start to grow, and then you rely on yourself, and then you look for others to do it, because as a business owner, you're going to have to coach other people to do exactly that. So that's all stuff that I would have told myself that would have helped along the way.
All right, that's inspiring. Let's get into the bonus section. So I'll say a word or a phrase, and you must reply with the first thought that comes to your mind. Fair enough?
Here we go. Let's do it.
Let's see. SaaS business.
SaaS business, being creative, creating.
Startup coaching.
My calling in life.
SaaS software.
A tool, leverage, what everybody should be using.
Tech business leaders.
World changers, impactors.
Productivity guide.
Productivity guide. It'd be tool, part of the story. Again, leveraging.
And last one, startup CTO health check.
That's just the mindset, checking that. Where do you think you are compared to where you are, and what you could be doing, where you could be going.
I see. Is that related with the three options you mentioned in the beginning, or can they do it by themselves as well?
That would be the done by you.
The done by you.
They do. Yeah. So they do the health check, and they can then get the answers and then go, all right, this is either it's something that now they can move forward to, ask for help on, but at least they see where they're at compared to where they feel they should be, and then decide what to do. Choose their own adventure.
All right, that's nice. Are there any last words from Denis before we close the pod?
I'd say for anybody that wants extra help or just to talk about this stuff, reach out to me. I'm on all the socials, Denis, Denis Daigle. So at that on Twitter or X, on Instagram, LinkedIn, look for me. And again, it's just, we're all in this together. Don't do this alone. You have everybody that's just waiting to help you. So let's do this.
That's nice. Appreciate you coming, Denis. That was brilliant.
Sir. My pleasure, Antonis. This is really great. Thanks for doing this, using your time and platform to help other people. That speaks of you and your heart. So keep going. I'm a big fan.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much for the kind words. And that was Denis Daigle, ladies and gentlemen.